Hi everyone, today we are going to share Apple's staffing practice. So, Apple is an American multinational company headquartered in California. It designs, develops, and sells consumer electronics, computer software, and online services. It is well known for its size and revenues. It is the world's largest technology company by revenue and third largest mobile phone manufacturer. Apple got more than 120,000 full-time employees worldwide in 2018 with very diversified background. For the recruitment and selection, the first step is pre-recruitment. A clear job description will be written out, and then the HR department will announce the open positions and create recruitment ads. Then there will be a candidate screening. Apple screens for candidates who meet the basic qualification criteria specified in the job advertisement. It will be a 2 to 4 weeks long, and successful candidate will be invited to a hiring event. During the hiring event, they will ascertain if the candidate have the personality and traits required to excel in the company, and they will be interviewed by senior staff. They are allowed to interact freely with each other and also with the employees. Recruiters will make observations of how they interact with each other. And then for the first interview, it will be a one-on-one interview or group interview. They will participate in role-playing activities to act out various scenarios range from customer making an inquiry to handling irate customers. Questions will be like, what are your strengths and weaknesses? For the second interview, it will be notified within 2 to 6 days. A phone call will be received. It might last for 15 minutes about their opinion on Apple, and then they will come in person for another interview regarding their past experience and how to handle certain situations. For the third interview, every response of the candidate will be evaluated. They might also be told not to wear anything formal, and they will be evaluated by their clothing. The questions asked are similar to the last two interviews, and there will be one-on-one interview with general manager. For the last interview, it will be a one-on-one interview with the head manager or high-level manager. The questions are getting more technical, for example, like about the Apple products, the differences between iOS and other smartphone operating systems. It could also get personal about their passions and wishes. It usually lasts for 20 minutes. Lastly, there will be a background check. The candidate's references are contacted by the hiring manager to complete the reference check. Their law enforcement records are also checked to ensure they have no criminal past. Candidates who pass this stage are contacted and given an employment offer by Apple.
So about the retention strategy in Apple. In 2009, its retention rate of retail employees rose from 61% to a historic high of nearly 89%. There are two internal apps created for the retail staff, including a Hello app that provides a daily summary of need-to-know information and a Lead app that allows staff to share useful tips and tricks. These two apps are informative and good for their job performance. The economic reward has been used as the best retention strategy by Apple. Apple provides a competitive package for the employees, including periodic stock grants, investment and saving plans, and bonuses. Apart from the economic reward, the Apple Values program is for recognizing employees who make an extraordinary contribution to the company. Employees who receive this reward are appointed as leaders. They provide visionary guidelines to the organization in the field of expertise. It is a good way to retain and attract best and committed talents. Moving on, let's talk about the training and development policy in Apple. The Apple University was founded by Steve Jobs and located in California. The university is for teaching the Apple business culture. In order to protect the business secrets, the university is highly secretive and rarely written about. Apple utilizes a unique training approach to ensure that the employees are equipped with the right skill for the job. The company allows the employees to do things on their own to encourage them to develop strong self-reliance. In this case, the workers can learn from their mistakes. Employees are encouraged to develop innovative skills since they're allowed to work in different units within the organization. Apple uses a unique approach to assigning roles to different teams. In this case, several groups are assigned to perform a particular task. After accomplishing the task, they will be assigned an entire different role. Therefore, employees can provide new solutions every time. Introducing a mentoring program will be beneficial for the retention rate and development of employee skills in Apple. An effective mentoring program should consider three key issues. Apple needs to make sure that everyone in the organization knows that the mentoring is going on. Embedded mentoring in the company culture is essential as well. The program must be evaluated regularly by looking at productivity and measurable improvement. An effective mentoring program promotes personal and professional development, improves job satisfaction, and reduces turnover. Also, the mentors will have stronger sense of commitment.
Now we would like to analyze one of the staffing practices of Apple, which is their official online application from the perspective of job seekers. Entering the hiring homepage of Apple, we can see Apple's logos in different lively designs. Having the meaning of every type of people can be a part of the company, which is the promoting theme of Apple recruitment. Video attached with it also increases the vividness of the homepage. To apply for jobs of backstage innovating teams, applicants can get into a page categorizing various professional departments. This simple page is designed for the active attached group, which includes seekers having job experiences and targeted working areas in Apple. Applicants can find further information about the job positions they are looking for after clicking their interested working fields. This is a perfect interface for the central users as the page offers key information they want when deciding whether to apply the firm or not. Another web page posted with lots of pictures showing people in cheerful communications is designed for students who are in lack of prior knowledge, which means job experiences. Putting peripheral elements like graphics may attract the marginally attached group who are job seekers in lack of prior knowledge and just aim at better job.
Apple uses both internal and external recruitment methods, and we would like to introduce the external one. Apple applies different kinds of external recruitment sources, claims over 300 agencies for hiring, including the university and conventional media, to lure potential candidates to their big family. Their recruitment advertisements are not only common on their official website, but also Jobs.db and LinkedIn. Such media is a popular trend now, not to mention clear job description and specification provided could definitely help candidates to make an in-depth investigation on their actual willingness for the occupation vacancy. Another pro of this strategy is attracting substantial pool of talents. However, although Apple is full of resources, it still costs much. Using such large amount of channel is expensive and also increase the burden and workload for HR team. Before they have implemented those methods, they should properly consider how much applicants needed. Therefore, they should limit techniques for hiring to increase efficiency. For example, only post advertisements on recruiting websites, which attract most of the applicants as those channels have the highest richness and credibility. Now we move on to the selection process. After brief screen, Apple would invite the applicable applicants to the hiring event. Candidates are required to introduce themselves and communicate with other applicants and staff. Candidates' performance like questioning, answering, and reaction will be assessed by the Apple internal recruiters. This is an innovative method to examine applicants' in-depth personality through relatively relaxed situation. However, as some experienced applicants said, over 70 people participated in this event simultaneously, that the campaign is in fact that challenging to be host in the field of Apple. There are issues in the hiring event. It takes high cost to place large amount of supervisors in the event. It is also difficult for supervisors to make a fair evaluation on each applicant. Although the hiring event is a kind of initial assessment for further selection, it is difficult to avoid criticism on ambiguous procedural justice. We suggest the company should limit the amount of applicants into controllable size and separate into smaller groups. Also control the applicants' groups to stay in certain activity areas to allow supervisors to assess them focusedly. Perhaps conducting some trainings for the staff who are being supervised is also a practical and useful way to improve the personality evaluation with a higher reliability.
After the hiring event, Apple will start the interviewing process. A physical interview is followed by a phone interview. Then there are 2 more rounds of practical interviews. Social and situational questions will be asked during the first interview and phone interview. It focuses on candidates' past experiences, situational dilemmas, opinions on firm and interests of job positions. Some abstract questions are asked during the 2 remaining interviews. For example, candidates may be invited to explain their informal clothing. Technical and personal problems like aspiration and enthusiasm will be also asked. Besides, practical tests and work samples are provided to interviewees to predict their future performances, while mental analysis is carried out through psychometric instruments. Regarding to the huge coverage inquiries are promoted in the interviews, applicants' knowledge, ability, and skill, as well as the fitness of personality, are able to prevail through this holistic assessment system. For the part of internal selection, an engineering project manager in Apple explained that Apple tends to promote good performers without any management skills, but don't help them obtain any. This shows a problem in internal promotion that Apple only focuses on potential employees' practical and technical abilities, but overlook the leading skill. Therefore, we would like to recommend Apple holds some training workshop before those employees being promoted become managers officially. The workshops can be hosted by present managers to help those internal promoted candidates build up management skill to lead their future teams successfully.
So now we move on to talk about the other problem in the recruitment and selection process of Apple, which is an lengthy interview process with uncertain rating period. As mentioned, there are 3 rounds of interviews in Apple. The first one is for group discussion and the other 2 are mainly used for individual interview. In fact, the second and third individual interviews are quite similar. The only difference is the candidates will meet different levels of managers and slightly different types of questions will be asked. So why Apple doesn't choose to combine 2 individual interviews into one? Isn't that can reduce selection time and cost and more focus on testing particular competency of the candidates? Maybe we can first compare Apple with its competitors Sony and Dell. For Sony, it consists of 3 assessment methods which are aptitude test, technical interview, and HR interview. For the aptitude test in Sony, it was divided into 3 sessions, which are aptitude session, verbal question session, and a technical session. To elaborate more, aptitude session usually include a question like arithmetic, geometry that require candidates to interpret the data, while for verbal question session, it consists of some English questions like reading comprehension. And for technical session, it consists of questions that relate to electronic concepts and computer knowledge. For Dell, actually those 3 assessment methods are exactly the same with those in Sony. However, there are some differences in the content of the aptitude test. So actually Dell has divided its aptitude test into 4 sessions, which are quantitative aptitude session, analytical reasoning session, verbal ability session, and technical session. So this graph actually shows the time limit and the number of questions that will be asked in particular session. As Dell is a well-known multinational computer technology company, so it will put more concentration on testing candidates' technical ability. Through the comparisons, we understand that separating the different types of aptitude tests can allow the employer to pinpoint exactly what they want to test on candidates' competency. However, because Apple made use of 3 interviews instead of an aptitude test, even the interviews has the advantage to build a better and standardized screening of candidates, it still seems a little bit ineffective. Next is the interview issues during the selection process in Apple.
On the recruitment site called Indeed, there are a few comments about the issues and feelings for the interviews in Apple. Those comments are about the candidates cannot really know how long that the employees in Apple will contact them to attend the next round interviews, and some experienced candidates may feel frustrated about the lengthy interview in Apple. Those problems caused from the recruitment selection process in Apple may lead to a possible negative consequence, which is fail to hire potential candidates or talents, as some of the candidates may feel stressful and they may accept the offers from other companies during the waiting period. Therefore, we need to make these suggestions about the amendment of recruitment and selection process of Apple.
Next, I will talk about the recommendations. To solve the problem, we suggest a new recruit system for Apple. In comparison to the current recruitment process, the major differences between them are having an aptitude test, differences in hiring events, and number of face-to-face interviews. Firstly, we have added an aptitude test as the first step on screening out the right candidates for Apple. There will be 4 sections, which are abstract reasoning tests which examine the logical sense, analyze skills, and intelligence. It's followed by the verbal reasoning test, which assesses candidates' skills on understanding passages. Then, there is a numerical reasoning test for checking candidates' financial analysis and data interpretation, etc. Finally, a situational judgment test for knowing the problem-solving, decision-making, and interpersonal skills of candidate. The reasons for us to set these 4 tests are for testing the specific area, so candidates can concentrate on one skill when doing the test, and the result will be more accurate. Moreover, it can be used to represent a person's level of competency in certain type of task. By adding the aptitude test before the hiring event, Apple can easily sort out the potential candidates. It benefits Apple as a result can be given through the aptitude test provided immediately, which can screen out those who can't pass the test. Moreover, it allows employers to have an objective and effective comparison between candidates before they come to interview. While the aptitude test conducted online, it requires less resources than the physical meets with managers, which can reduce costs and time for recruitment. Next, we have kept the hiring event for showing the friendly environment culture of Apple. Since the problem of messiness has been solved, it is much easier for raters to evaluate candidates' performance too. Also, communication is a critical part in every company, and this event can see whether candidates are willing to communicate and approach people. Then it is time for face-to-face interview. Instead of having 3 interviews which take a long process and have uncertain waiting period between them, we cut the second interview which focuses on situational questions, as this has been done in the aptitude test. For the remaining 2 interviews, the first one will focus in groups to see how candidates cope with others as a group. The format will be same as the old process, and this is important as good communication between co-workers can form harmony in the teams. This is also great to shorten the time of recruitment process, as multiple candidates will be assessed at once. As for the individual interviews, it will focus more on technical stuff like the products of Apple, and candidates may require to be creative and innovative in it. This will be the final stage to test candidates' enthusiasm towards Apple products and the creativity. If the candidates pass the interview, there will be a background check and offers will be given. According to JobFight's report, the average time for hiring was 38 days, and it usually takes 10 to 14 days for follow-up actions from the firms. As a result, to avoid the uncertain waiting period in our new recruitment process, Apple will notify candidates about the waiting time for the next assessment, and the time is stated here. To conclude, the new process helps reduce costs and length of interviews, which online test helps, and candidates don't need to come to interview for many times. There is a specific timing for notification on next assessment that can let candidates better know how long they need to wait for the next interview. To conclude, this is the current recruitment process of Apple. While Apple has a good retention strategy and training and development to motivate and encourage employees to develop their skills. However, there are problems like the use of too much external recruitment sources, messiness of hiring event, wrong skills focused on internal promotion, lengthy interview process, and uncertain waiting period in the recruitment process. Therefore, we recommend Apple to confirm the number of applicants needs and choose the most effective external channel, limit a number of candidates and separate them into small groups. Also, raters should be trained for fair judging. Apple should also provide training workshops to future managers to develop their leadership skills too. And lastly, we have suggested a new recruitment process to keep in touch with candidates. So Apple will lose the best candidates in long recruitment process and can reduce costs. In candidates' perspective, they don't need to attend too many interviews and can save more time too. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you!